Look at your room right now. Feel that reassuring, solid floor beneath your feet. Look out your window at the trees, the sky, the clouds. It feels permanent, doesn't it? We walk around this blue marble like we own the place, acting as if Earth is our permanent private property, signed, sealed, and delivered forever. But have you ever stopped to wonder what actually happens when Earth decides to drop our lease? Right now, in observatories and space agencies across the globe, astronomers and astrobiologists are desperately scanning the cosmos for alternatives, hunting for habitable exoplanets, terraforming targets, and backup home worlds that could one day host the human species. In fact, finding those potential alien backup homes is going to be the exact focus of our very next video. But before we look out at the stars for an escape pod, you might be asking yourself, why? Why would we ever need another home planet? Earth is fine. Earth is comfortable. Well, my friends, today, I am going to show you 7 terrifying instances in history when Earth almost completely wiped out its own livable atmosphere and went extinct. Before we fire up the warp drive to inspect the wreckage of Earth's past planetary reboots, let us review the rules of the vessel. Fact 1. The geological and biological data in this log is verified by teams of astrophysics and paleontology researchers who spent 8 years in academia just to measure ancient ocean sediment and don't get invited to parties. Fact 2. If at any point during this log you experience an existential crisis and realize your upcoming performance review is completely meaningless against deep time, complimentary paper towels are located beneath your seat. Smash that subscribe button now to appease the almighty algorithm gods. Hyperdrive engaging in 3, 2, 1. Let's rewind 2.4 billion years ago. Back then, oxygen wasn't the breath of life. It was absolute, unfiltered toxic waste. Enter cyanobacteria. These tiny microscopic organisms accidentally figured out photosynthesis, and they started burping out pure, raw oxygen into the atmosphere at an industrial scale. The existing anaerobic organisms on Earth couldn't handle it. It triggered a massive, planet-wide chemical genocide, choking out almost every living thing on the surface. Imagine your roommate decides to install 400 ultra-strength chemical air fresheners in your tiny studio apartment. You like a fresh room, sure. But within 20 minutes, the sheer chemical purity is literally burning your lungs, melting your eyes, and forcing you to run into the hallway. That was Earth. Microbes literally burped so hard they destroyed the landlord's property value for 2 billion years. You think oxygen is your friendly cosmic savior? You're just living in the toxic aftermath of history's deadliest biochemical pollution event. Shortly after the oxygen catastrophe wrecked the atmosphere, greenhouse gases plummeted off a cliff. The entire planet froze solid, turning into a giant blinding white ice ball from the equator all the way to the poles. Surface temperatures plunged to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Ocean surfaces froze kilometers deep. Life didn't just struggle. It was forced into deep underground hiding, surviving strictly inside tiny, slushy, boiling geothermal pockets near underwater volcanic vents. This wasn't a standard put on a winter jacket situation. This was your landlord turning off the central heating in the middle of January, except the landlord was solar physics. And January lasted for 300 million years straight. Microscopic life was forced to huddle in tiny hot water puddles like desperate, shivering commuters crowded around a single broken space heater at a freezing subway station. Every single animal, plant, and human alive today descended from a microscopic group of survivors that spent millions of years clinging to burning hot mud inside an interplanetary deep freezer. Jump forward to 443 million years ago. Earth was thriving with strange, complex ocean life. Then, sudden aggressive continental glaciation locked up vast quantities of Earth's liquid water into gigantic ice sheets. Sea levels didn't just dip, they dropped like a stone, completely draining the shallow coastal seas where 85% of all marine species built their homes. Picture yourself sitting in a luxurious, warm swimming pool, relaxing with a cold drink. Suddenly, someone pulls the bottom drain plug without warning. Within 10 minutes, the water is entirely gone, and you and all your friends are flopping around on dry, rough concrete, trying to explain to the universe that your bodies were custom-built for underwater lounge life. Their entire world didn't explode, it literally just drained away into nothing. Around 375 million years ago, a new threat emerged: plants. Flora finally moved out of the oceans and colonized dry land. It sounds peaceful, right? Wrong. Their new root systems shattered ancient rocks, washing millions of tons of raw nutrients directly into the rivers and oceans. This triggered apocalyptic algal blooms across the world's waters. The algae multiplied, died, rotted, and consumed every single molecule of oxygen in the water column, suffocating almost all marine life to death. Plants moving onto land was essentially like a massive tech startup moving into a quiet, affordable neighborhood, completely disrupting the local ecosystem so aggressively that everyone who lived there previously suffocated under the weight of corporate greenwashing. The oceans became toxic dead zones. So, what did life do? Certain brave fish literally dragged themselves onto dry land and forced themselves to grow legs, purely to escape the corporate disaster unfolding in the water. Now we arrive at 252 million years ago, the Permian-Triassic extinction, famously known to paleontologists as the Great Dying. This wasn't just a bad time, it was the absolute worst apocalyptic event in Earth's history. A volcanic rift in modern-day Siberia erupted continuously for hundreds of thousands of years, flooding the atmosphere with carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and toxic heavy metals. The oceans turned acidic, the rain turned into pure acid. Over 90% of all marine species and 70% of land species were wiped off the face of the planet. If Earth were an operating system, this wasn't a standard crash where your computer restarts and you lose an unsaved file. This was someone pouring boiling battery acid into the motherboard, smashing the monitor with a sledgehammer, and setting the whole desk on fire, 90% of all life erased. Earth was literally one bad afternoon away from turning into a dead, rusted rock like Mars. Fast forward to 201 million years ago. The world's landmass was combined into one giant supercontinent called Pangaea. But deep underground, magma currents were building up immense pressure. Eventually, giant volcanic rift valleys opened up and literally ripped Pangaea down the middle. Massive carbon dioxide spikes triggered runaway global climate swings, shattering food chains and clearing out early crocodilian competitors so the dinosaurs could take total control. Picture living in an apartment complex where your landlord literally tears the building directly down the center of your living room because he decided to construct an entire ocean between your sofa and your kitchen. The ground beneath their feet didn't just shake, it split apart and pushed continents thousands of miles across the globe 6 million years ago. The dinosaurs had successfully ruled this planet for 165 million years. Humans have only been around for a tiny fraction of that. The dinosaurs were thriving, adaptable, and completely dominant. Then came a 10-kilometer-wide asteroid, traveling at 40,000 miles per hour, heading straight for the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact detonated with the force of billions of atomic bombs simultaneously. It launched superheated debris into orbit, ignited global forest fires, generated worldwide shockwaves, and choked the atmosphere in a thick cloud of dust that blocked sunlight for years. 75% of all species vanished. The dinosaurs were having a completely standard, pleasant Tuesday afternoon, right up until space decided to rezone their entire home planet into a burning blast crater. One minute you're the undisputed apex predator at the top of the food chain, and the next minute you're organic fertilizer for tiny, panicked furry mammals hiding in dirt holes underground. And that brings us to right now. Today, scientists agree that Earth has entered its 8th major extinction wave, the Holocene extinction. Except this time, if you look up at the sky, there are no giant incoming space rocks. There are no runaway supervolcanoes tearing open the crust. There are no deep space gamma-ray bursts striking the atmosphere. This time, the planet didn't hit a wall. The passengers simply crawled into the driver's seat, started fiddling with the engine controls, threw the steering wheel out the window, and posted a review online complaining about the ride quality. For the first time in 4.5 billion years, the asteroid isn't coming from deep space. It's sitting right here, driving the car. When we look back across the deep astronomical and geological record, it is easy to view these past extinctions as pure cosmic tragedies. We see endless loss, planetary destruction, and void, but Earth does not mourn. To our planet, every catastrophe was simply a fresh, blank canvas. The oxygen apocalypse gave birth to complex respiration. The Great Dying cleared the board for the dinosaurs. The asteroid impact paved the path for mammals, for primates, and ultimately for you to sit here today pondering our place among the stars. Earth has never truly been destroyed. It has only been reinvented. We drew lines between eras and called them Earth's worst catastrophes. The universe just called it a routine cycle of planetary reboots. So which of these ancient apocalyptic resets sounds like the absolute worst way to go? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that subscribe button before another asteroid finds our coordinates, and stay tuned for our next video where we hunt down the actual exoplanets that could become humanity's next backup home planet. Log entry closed. See you on the next ascent.